I know this is gonna sound like me talking shit, and I'm sorry, but it's just the way it is. Black people would claim that they have this great ancestry and that great ancestry. I'm sorry, black people, but you're just gonna have to deal with the fact that basically your great king, your great leader was a man named Papa. um, he was a black guy. He was old and nasty and horrible. And basically, he used to have his little papa's boys go out there, and they would do the lizard, which is basically what they would do. Here, I'll demonstrate for you. I'll demonstrate the lizard. What they do, the lizard is like this. You go like this, the legs spin apart, and you squat, and they'd go like this, and they'd go and do a nice little line of shit right on a tray underneath them. They just sit there and they kind of squat like this. They go down on the ground, and they'd do like little lines and they'd put these little lines on these trays. Um, uh, Sorry, dude. Like that. And a little tray. Make little lines of. Can you see that okay? Make little lines of what's it called? We found this guy out there in the desert, someplace in like Africa or someplace like that. And they basically just squat and they make these little lines of trays, and then they would let it dry in the sun. Then they would take a spatula and scrape them off, and then they would put all of it into bags, and they'd ship it like fertilizer. I think they use white bags too, which is like, what are you doing using white as a color? Anyway, it's a fertilizer. Then you would ship it to the States, and then they would take it and they would bake it in the oven. They should have really baked it overseas. They should have baked it and then shipped it, but they didn't do that. So it made a lot of people sick. Anyway, or maybe it just changed the flavor. I don't really know. Anyway, then they would put it in the oven and they'd bake it. And it's basically like I'm gonna choke and die. Just thinking about it. And then they would bake it in the oven and get it really they take it to like 500 degrees and bake it really dry. And then they would maybe they mix it with caramel. I don't really know. Anyway, and then they would bake it in the oven, and then they would take it and they'd cut it into little cubes. And then they would put it on a tray. And then at really nice high-end events, a girl would go around and they would take these little cubes and they'd put it inside of alcohol, inside of gin or something, and then mix it up. And then the people would sip it and drink it. This was happening around 1920, 1930, 1940. And he would sell these little cubes for like $100 a piece or something like that. Or a lot of money. And it's basically just opium and excrement that was cooked. Anyway, yeah, Papa. Anyway, and then he bought a bunch of canes. That I had this cane manufacturing place where I was taking these canes and it was just silver metal, not really necessarily pure silver, but silver. And it had like little nice little tops, and then black cane part, and then it had these little spears at the bottom, these little things that were kind of not pointed, but you could walk with it as a walking stick. Anyway, Papa sharpened them all up so you could jab people, and he actually made them so they're kind of like spiky on the very tip or something. Anyway, and you could actually stab someone's heart with it, like anyway, and stuff like that. Anyway, it's mildly legal to carry these canes around. Anyway, though, but that's what his people would do, and you could hit like an artery or something like that. And he taught his Papa's warriors, his enforcers, how to use them or something like that. Anyway, though, it was really disgusting and it was really horrible, and then basically that's what he was doing. So that's the Black Legacy. That's That's Harlem and Wolf and all of them. Anyway, I'm not exactly sure about the details of everything, and it's just the way it was. Like I say, basically the Bloods and the Crips, the Reds, the red pants, gray coats people. They like to confuse the German actually wore black coats. The German officers were actually wearing black coats or something like that, not even gray coats. Gray coats were cheap wool, and German officers wore much better clothing and stuff like that. Anyway, though, and at some point in time, I was going to change my my army around, and so they made all these uniforms that were gray and red pants. Basically, they're sweatpants. They're cheap, and I looked at them and I watched some people walking around them. I was like, I don't really like them. So I changed my uniform type and to something a little more professional, a little bit nicer than just sweatpants. And basically, so there's all these leftover red pants and gray coats. And so this other guy bought them cheap and basically put them on all these people. And basically, that's where the red pants, gray coats come from, is that. And basically, it's just the way it was. And a bunch of black people ran around with free clothes and, pretty much raped and killed and did a bunch of bad stuff trying to pretend like they were working for me, but they weren't. Anyway, eventually they tried to rape a whole bunch of Germans, and it didn't go so well. So anyway, and that started a blood feud or a race war or something like that. Well, it wasn't really, it didn't really start a race war. I mean, like I said, you could be walking by Papa on the street, and he would just look at you, and he would just decide something would tick off inside his head, and he would just go up to him. Go up to people and be like, I'm going to get your mama, I'm going to get your blah, blah. And he would just start going off on people. And he was just psycho. The Irish would tell you, Papa was just psycho. He was a black guy. And he was psycho. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, he was a psycho black guy. And that's just the way it is. And that's what he was. So, as far as I know, anyway, though, he killed reporters, he killed news people, he raped everyone and all kinds of stuff, and basically he was a black guy that was psycho, and he he did a lot of opium and stuff like that. Anyway, he was the Bloods or the Crips, like high commander, if you call him that. Anyway, yeah, and that kind of stuff. That's where all the orders were coming from. He was just a psycho guy. They rearranged facts, they killed people, they raped people, they took girls out, they killed women, raped women. And it's just this guy who was just seeing how far he could push it or something. Anyway, yeah, so that's who Papa was, a black guy. And, it's part of the whole Harlem and Wolf kind of thing. Anyway, he tried to go and suppress or kill Irish people, and Irish people they didn't take his guff, or they didn't take it. They fought back. So, anyway, the Irish really had nothing to do with it other than they were there. The Irish were just happened to be in the area, and Papa was just like that. And unless you were black, even if you were mildly black, he would, he only supported his color. So anyway, he was really racist and psycho. And Papa wasn't even all that black. He was only like as far as black, he wasn't really black. He was only mostly black. So anyway, whatever. Anyway, I don't really know. I never met the guy, and there's very few pictures of him. So, yeah, whatever. Women would know him more, unfortunately. He forced a lot of stuff. So, anyway, he was like the secret black high command. So, anyway, though, but yeah, I'm gonna tell people that he existed. He's Papa, and yeah, he's crazy. He was always crazy. He was paranoid too because, most people they think everyone else is the way they are, and so anyway though, but I mean it could have been the drugs. So anyway, it's just the way it is. So he was out there in the world, he was seen around, walking with my cane, slapping women as he walked down the street. He was just really abusive. Anyway, whatever. But yeah, that's Papa, I think.